So one of the nice things about the Ackuretta Sol printing solution is that we've got a direct integration no matter whether we're going straight from a scanner, say for example the Medit scanners, or we can take it direct from our ExitCAD. And in the ExitCAD DentalCAD software, where I designed these temporaries, we could send that straight through with a single click to the Alpha software, and that would pick up straight away for us to enable the settings to be input and then print them direct on the Ackuretta Sol on a medium-based platform.
So let's look a little bit more in depth about the actual Ackuretta system in terms of how that helps us with printing single or multiple crowns. You can see in this case there's 6 crowns there that we're positioning, and these are minimally invasive crowns. You can see the very minimal coverage, almost really veneers. And this is printed on their small build platform. There's also the medium build platform, but their smaller build platforms, how they help is they basically allow the resin to flow back in quicker. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the resins that are the tooth colored resins, but they are very, very sticky resins. They're very thick. And so by allowing that resin to flow back in quicker, it can shave off minutes and minutes off your overall print time. And you can see on the right here, I'm saying print one or many in under 25, 30 minutes. And it really is under 25, 30 minutes. The fastest I've ever had was 14 minutes. And so realistically with us, we want to make sure that we use this build platform to maximize our efficiency. And you've got to keep in mind as well that it doesn't matter whether you just have one or a few. It doesn't matter how much of that build platform is covered, that at the end of the day, the build size affects the speed overall because of the number of layers, not the size of the restoration. It isn't like the old SLA printers, which were printing with a laser that would run across, and the bigger the volume of the restoration, the bigger the print, that would take longer because the laser would have to cover more of an area. With this, it doesn't matter. The whole layer prints at the same time. So the factor that affects the speed the most is the number of layers, so the height of your restoration. And if you've got one that's higher than all the others, stick the others in. It's not going to affect you overall time. What's great about the Ackuretta platform is it's completely open. You look at all these different resin manufacturers. I mean, they will go out of their way to make sure that they can integrate all of these, and probably a lot more over time as they're going to come in. And there really are some great resins. So why is that important? Because you'll get some printer manufacturers and they have one great resin, but you don't want to be limited to just that one great resin. You want to print your surgical guides in another resin, or you want to print your denture resin in another resin from a different manufacturer. So having that ability, that open architecture, for me, is incredibly important. Now, that kind of leads me on to the difference between looking at a printer at the level of the Ackuretta Sol or looking at some of the cheaper printers. So, for example, on our IDDA courses, we give away like the Creality printers, and they are great. Some of the cheaper Chinese printers are phenomenal in what they can do. But the problem is that when you start getting more involved with 3D printing and you start using some of these resins you can see here, without naming one in particular, some of them are a little bit more finicky in terms of when you're printing, having those parameters very, very strict. So again, being efficient, yes, it's possible to use any printer. And if you calibrate those parameters and you pop those in, good, that's great. But for me, I just want everything easy and smooth. I want to click through those buttons and know that those settings have been calibrated and tested and validated. And if I'm going to be using a biocompatible resin, even more so. So for me, it's a natural evolution to go for a more dedicated 3D dental printer, simply because we can use all these resins from all these different manufacturers and really make the most of them in a predictable and accurate way.
Another important consideration that we must make when we're talking about 3D printing is if we're using something that directly touches or is used with the patient, whether that be for the case here where we're using temporaries like the Bego resin or any other resin like Ackuretta crown resin. It doesn't matter whether it's a temporary or permanent solution. If it's in contact with the patient, just the same as if it was a guided surgery surgical guide that we're printing, it needs to be a validated workflow. And that's important because for Class 2 approval, we need to make sure that it's safe for the patient. And that workflow that's been approved, that involves not only the 3D printing aspect, but also the post-processing. And post-processing is an incredibly important aspect of 3D printing, one that's often overlooked, and that's really important because we have to make sure that we remove any of the resin that's left on the printed product using an alcohol wash and then curing it afterwards appropriately. Different materials require different parameters in terms of the wash and also the final cure. And using a system such as the Ackuretta Curie and the wash means that we can appropriately wash and cure the material according to its needs. And that works very nicely, especially with the Curie, where we can select the correct material that we're using, click start, and it will cure with a flash that's appropriate. And we need to make sure of that, obviously, to provide the very best of patient care.
So like I've alluded to before when we were talking about the way that you can integrate this with different parts of your patient workflow, it really having the permanent resin gives us a lot more possibilities than we would have thought about, where we can direct print restorations to go for implants, for teeth, for custom healing abutments, safe in the knowledge that it's a stronger and it is a biocompatibly permanent material. So, for me, even something as simple as like this case. So for example, like this case where we're using the bridge to place a couple of implants and having a temporary bridge sitting onto the adjacent teeth next door, just while things heal. And I'm using the material to create really nice ovate pontics so that when my permanent restoration is made, then I can try and create a little bit more of an emergence. And obviously, I'm not going to go through that whole case today, but suffice to say that, controlling the soft tissue can make a big difference in terms of the overall aesthetics when we get to the end stage. So being able to control not only the buccal portion of the restoration, but also the fitting surface into the ginger as well as the teeth makes a big difference in terms of what we're doing and using the materials for to incorporate in various workflows. And that leads us on to finishing. So, like we've discussed before, we alluded to the fact that we really need a validated workflow for this. And what better way than to use the Ackuretta wash and core? It really is a beautiful system to achieve that golden 1 hour workflow where we have calibrated resins, they print fast, and then we know by using them we can use this dual wash, pop it through, and we can adjust, depending on the size of the platform, we can adjust those little metal braces to sit into the frame of the wash on each side to support even the small size build platform, and then wash those restorations and then pop them in the correct on the cure here to make sure that it is processed through completely and all of the resin is converted. So we know we're going to be placing something that's biocompatible and safe. The beautiful thing with the Curie is the material libraries that we can just put in manually or update the SD card there. And that means you just select it from the list and it will cure to the correct time and intensity that's set and calibrated for that specific resin.
So I'm holding this out of the light to show you this now, but my advice again would be to, as soon as you've taken it out of the machine, to get it straight into the wash. If you leave it too long, these lights I've had set so they don't give off UV light, but I have a window here, and I'm doing this very quickly because I want to make sure that the light doesn't come through the window and set things. believe it or believe it or not, the most powerful LED or the most powerful UV light, I should say, that can cure these materials is the sun. So what that means is that if you have an open window, a window that's that light can get in easily with your 3D printer, then it's really important to you to get a blind that you can just lower very quickly for when you're taking the print out of the printer. So we have this mock-up. The mock-up's here, it's ready, it's looking beautiful. The next stage you want to do is to set this into the wash. Now, if we go over, in the cleaning, we've got a two-stage system for this. So we've got the dirty side and the clean side. The dirty side, if I move this out of the way, you can see one of them actually is just dropped down a little bit. I'm going to put this back on. And let's just set that here. And these little metal rods I'll take out actually, we can set at different intervals so that we can rest the different size build platforms appropriately. And I'm just going to drop this in with the metal platforms set just wide enough apart so it's going to support at the sides here, and then let me wash that. So I'm going to set that down here, just onto there. And the liquid I've got is just sitting above where the base of that is. So I'm going to sit this on here. I'm going to set this to wash. I'm going to press the mode. I'm going to set the first one to, let's say we could do 5 minutes, something small, to wash on that side, and then we'll wash the other side, okay? Once we've washed both sides, then we're going to place into the oven, okay? The oven. I'm thinking about porcelain. So into the light curing chamber. So in this light curing chamber, again, one of the great features of Curie that we have from Ackuretta, we can see the flashes going on, we know it's working, we know whether it's on. UV light's obviously dangerous to the eyes. We want to make sure that we're wearing glasses if you're going to be involved in that. But we don't need to with this because we've got this little window, we can see everything's going on and we can see it stops. But another one of the great features of the Curie is the fact that the material library, we can go through and we can choose whatever we're going to be using and select it, ready to go to press start, and that will cure away. So for the process of, once it's finished printing, so this would take 20 minutes for the print of those, then we'd pop into the cure, 5 minutes each side, then we pop into the cure here. So we've got 20 minutes, 2 5-minute washes, 10-minute cure, okay? So in total about 40 minutes, okay?